right, guys, we're going to get started. All right, for anybody new here, hi guys, my name is Sierra, the Wealth Empress, your credit and funding and day trading strategist. And today we are going to start our Forex beginner basics class. Okay, so we're going to go from 8 to 9. All right. And I should have did a slideshow. I'll have a slideshow ready tomorrow. All right, so go ahead and get your notes out, your notebook out. And we're going to start from the very, very beginner basics, okay? So, what is Forex? Okay? Forex stands for the foreign exchange. Foreign exchange. So, Forex is the foreign exchange. It's the global market where people exchange currencies. So, right here's a chart. And as you can see, it says GBP and New Zealand dollar, British pound and New Zealand dollar. These are two currencies, okay? And in the Forex market, you're trading the price fluctuation between two currencies, okay? All right, so if you didn't know, Forex is the largest market in the world. Over $7 trillion is traded every single day. And the best part, you don't need a finance degree. We're not trading right now. We're doing our beginner courses. You guys, I'm going to be ignoring the chat for this hour until we get through this beginner basics, all right? All right, so if you don't know, you don't need a finance degree, $1 million, or a Wall Street connection to get in this game. You just need the right education, strategy, and discipline, and that's what you're here for. All right, so in Forex, you're not buying actual money and keeping it in a vault. You're speculating that the means that you're predicting whether one currency will go up or down against another. All right, so here's an example with GBP NZD. Right now, I am currently in a buy, okay, because I got my confluences and I'm speculating that the pound, Great British Pound, is currently going to cost more than the New Zealand dollar. All right. Each pair moves differently, like personalities at brunch. Some are calm, some are spicy. Okay. I like to say gold and Nas are more spicy, but they do give you more pips. All right. And as you go on throughout this course, we're going to find you a pair that matches your personality, okay? All right, so unlike the stock market, the foreign exchange market runs 24 hours a day and 5 days a week, okay? We have the Sydney session, which is starting of the new week, all right? And then we have the Tokyo session, better known as Asia. So right now, we are in Asia session. And let me get the times for y'all because I don't have the times written down. So y'all can have that in your notes. It's going to be EST time. All right, here we go. All right, so Sydney session is from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Okay. Asia session, and this is GMT time. I want it to be in Eastern Standard. And it would be military hours. I hate that. That was GBP NZD. We'll go to the charts at 9 o'clock. All right, here we go, guys. Eastern Standard Time. Sydney session starts at 2. Okay. starts at 5 p.m., closes at 2 a.m. Asia session starts at 7 p.m., closes at 8 a.m. London session starts at 3 a.m. and closes at 12 p.m. And New York session starts at 8 a.m. and closes at 5 p.m. All right. So just take a screenshot or put this in your notes for when you're trading. All right. And you want to stick to the pairs for each session, right? So for New York session, NAS and a USD cross pair would be the best trades to take during that session. Asia session, JPY pairs is normally the best pairs to take during that session. Okay. Asia and sometimes these GBP pairs. And then Sydney session, London session are GBP and Euro pairs. Okay. Alrighty. And what is a cross pair? A cross pair is when you have, again, these two pairs. You have the pound New Zealand or euro Canadian dollar. Okay, it's just your two pairs, your two different currencies paired together, and they call them cross pairs. Okay. All right. So a few terms to know. What is a pip? A pip stands for points in percentage. It measures how much a pair moves. Okay. So normally, in order to find out how a pair moves the easier way, you'll just use this measure tool. Okay. And then you can go from the high to a low of an area just to measure how many pips it has moved. All right. And so if you look at this red box right here, you'll see it says negative 86. Okay, that's the number that we want to pay attention to. So it has moved 86 pips to the downside within 5 hours because we're on the hourly chart, and it took 5 bars. Okay. All right. Now, what is a lot? A lot is how much you're trading. You have micro lots, and your micro lots go from 0.01 to 0.09. Okay. And 0.01 is 10 cents, and 0.09 is 90 cents. All right. And then in between, you'll have 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents, 60 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents, right? So somebody tell me what 80 cents would be. Type it in the chat. What would you type in your broker to take a trade for 80 cents per pip? So again, 10 cents is 0.01 and 90 cents is 0.09. Yes, Maya, thank you. 0.08. All right, so that is a micro. And then you go from micros to minis. Okay, a mini is anywhere from 0.10, okay, to 0.99. 0.10 is a dollar, okay, and 0.99 is $9.90, okay. So the 0.1, right, is a dollar, and if I wanted to do $1.50, it would be 0.15, right? So you'll add in the micro in the front and then the mini in the back. Okay. So if I wanted to do $2.50, it would be 0.25. Okay? So someone tell me if you can figure out what $5.50 would be. All right. So again, yes. Yep. 0.55. All right. So our minis is 0.01 to 0.09, and our micros is 0.10 to 0.99. And then now we move on to standard lots, okay? And standard lots is $10 per pip. And this is where you start to get into the big money, okay? But we got to start with the little money before we can move to the big money, okay? So 1.00 is a standard lot, and it's $10. And it's the same way a 0.01 is 10 cents and a 0.10 is a dollar, right? So if 1.00 is $10, tell me what would you put for $20? 2.00. Good. Now tell me what you would put for $25.50. Now this one you'll have to add in a standard, a micro, and a mini. 2.55. Yes. Good job. Now, before we move on, let me know if y'all are confused by the pips and the lot sizes. Okay? Because you're going to need to know these lot sizes to make some money. And the easiest way to lose money, the quickest way to lose money is to enter a trade with the wrong lot size. And now you're sitting in some drawdown that your account can't handle. Okay? Alrighty. All right, so now we have leverage, okay? Leverage is using borrowed money from your broker to be able to trade larger positions in the market than what your actual cash would allow, okay? So imagine you only have $100, but you want to trade like you have $1,000. Okay, leverage makes that happen. That's why a lot of people blow their accounts over leveraging. All right, so how does leverage work? You have 50 to 1, okay, 100 to 1, and 500 to 1. All right, so with the 100 to 1, that means for every $1 in your account, your broker allows you to control $100 worth of currency. Okay? So for every $1 in your account, your broker allows you to control $100 worth of currency. So if you deposit $100 and you use 100 to 1 leverage, you can place trades as if you have $10,000 in your account. This is why they will allow you to place $1 trades and then your account go negative $100 and it'll take everything. Okay, so this is why using the proper lot size is important. All right. All right, so why do traders use leverage? Because Forex doesn't move in huge percentages like stocks, okay? It normally moves 1 to 3%. Moves are big in currency land. So leverage gives you more buying power, okay? You can profit from even the smallest price changes. It's how small accounts can potentially grow faster, but it also comes with a risk. All right. So leverage works both ways. If the trade goes in your favor and you're over leveraging, of course, you can win big. But if the trade goes against you and you're over leveraging, of course, you can lose just as big. All right, so safe leverage for beginners. First of all, as a beginner, you should always be practicing on a demo account, okay? And then start off with no more than an 10 to 1 leverage until you're confident because that yo. Okay, guys, I'm sorry if we get any interruptions. TikTok Studio is still lagging. All right. So now we're going to go over what pairs is best for what sessions, okay? All right. So remember we have Sydney session, Tokyo session, London session, and New York session. And y'all forgive me, I did not do a slideshow. Everything is on my phone, but tomorrow I'll have it up on the screen. It was raining here and I was just having a lazy day. All right, so for Sydney session, okay, which is 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, it is best for you to trade AUD USD, and AUD stands for Australian dollar, okay? And USD stands for the United States dollar. All right. And then you have NZD, USD, and NZD stands for New Zealand dollar. And then USD, United States dollar. Okay. And then you have AUD JPY, which is again Australian dollar. And JPY is the Japanese yen. Okay. And then you have again the New Zealand dollar with the Japanese yen. So as you can see, it looks like AUD and NZD trade best during the Sydney sessions because they are Sydney pairs. Okay. They're over in the Sydney region. So their market is open at that time. And as far as their market, the session time, so Sydney session means that the banks are open over in Sydney. Okay. All right. And then the same with the Tokyo session, better known as Asia session. It means that their banks are open. Okay. In Eastern Standard Time. All right. So that's nighttime over here for us, but that's morning time overseas in Asia. So their banks are moving the money in the market. All right. And the pairs that you would trade for that is mainly the cross pairs that have JPY at the end. And it's USD JPY. Okay. Which is again United States dollar with the Japanese yen. And then Euro JPY. Okay. Which is, what is Euro? The Euro, I want to say dollar. I think Euro is just Euro. Okay. And then GBP, JPY. All right. And GBP is Great British Pound. And then the Japanese yen. And AUD JPY. Okay. The Australian dollar and the Japanese yen. And London session. All right. Which is 3 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. All right. And this session crosses with New York session. Okay. So during this time, we have two banks open. okay, which would be the London Bank and the New York Bank, okay? And during the London session, you'll want to trade or focus on the euro and the United States dollar, which is Euro USD, GBP USD, which is Great Britain pound, and United States dollar. All right, United States dollar and the Swiss franc, which is CHF. Okay, and then the euro and the yen, which is Euro JPY, and then the pound and the yen, which is GBP JPY. All right, and then you have New York session. That's when our banks here in the United States are open. Okay, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You mainly get your New York Open starts at 9:30, where you get a lot of um, fluctuations in the market. Okay. All right. So now you have Euro USD with GBP USD. Then you have USD JPY with USD CAD. And CAD is the Canadian dollar. All right. And then you have USD CHF. All right. Hey guys in the chat, we're doing our beginner basics class. We will start our weekly chart analysis at 9 o'clock. All right. So the US market again overlaps with the London market. Okay. So London market is from 3 a.m. to 12. Okay. And then New York market is from 8 a.m. to 5. So you could look at the London pairs inside of New York and get some volatility when New York session opens, okay? All right, so any questions about our times and sessions? And then we had our pips and what Forex is. All right. So now, if you don't have any questions about that, that is the very beginner basics. So now we move on to TradingView for the next 30 minutes. So this website that you see up on your screen is called TradingView. You can log on to it by just Googling TradingView and then it will come up, okay? Or just type in tradingview.com. Along this side right here, okay, this is called a watch list. And I have the website is TradingView. I'm going to type it in here for you. Okay. Oh, that is not right. Hold on. Pardon my typo. There we go. Before TradingView, did I give out another website? I think that was it. I just said you can Google it. That was it, though. No other website. Now, as a beginner, I do recommend, no, you're good, Baby Pips, okay? As a beginner, and they'll dive a little bit more into the basics for you. All right, so this is TradingView. And on TradingView, it houses, before we go to the watch list, it houses everything that you can place a trade on. Stocks, funds, futures. I'm not sure how the funds market works or the bonds market works as far as placing a trade on, but I do watch bonds as far as news, okay? futures market, the forex market, crypto market, indices, bonds, economy. Yeah, I don't know what that is. It says economy, and then options. Okay. If I clear that, okay, there you go. So these are all of the different platforms, all of the different currency pairs, future pairs, crypto pairs, stocks, everything. IA Bianca, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what that is. All right. What does it have when it says economy? United States money supply, money stock, 10-year treasury. I've never dove into economy, but I'm interested now. All right. And then the bonds market. So the bonds is they'll sell these to outsiders, okay? And if they do good on their auction, then of course it's good for our dollar. And then if not, it's not good. But we'll get into that when we get into the news. All right, the indices, S&P 500, and then NAS is an indice, okay? Dow Jones, which they're like the top three that people love, and you can trade those on the futures and forex side. All right, and then we have all of our forex pairs here. All right, so everything that you need to mark up in order to take a trade is here on TradingView. All right, so now once you begin to place a trade or start to study the charts, you will create your watch list. And that's over here to the right. And as you can see, I have all of my currency pairs on my watch list and then a few futures pairs because I have like the pound by itself or the odd by itself, and I'll compare it to AJ. Okay, like let's say if I have AJ, which is the Australian dollar, and the Japanese yen, I'll use the Australian dollar futures chart. I'll use the Japanese yen futures chart, and then I'll use is AJ that one pair that I don't trade? Because there's one pair that I don't trade, and that might just be AJ. Okay, here it is. Nope. And then I'll compare it to AJ, right? You're asking if that Binance is good. If is it that Binance? So Binance is like Pocket Options, and they use a different website. They actually use Pocket Options. Okay, but within Pocket Options, they're placing trades on these same currency pairs, so you can still use this to mark up, but you won't be able to use this to place a trade. You'll just have to go to the Pocket Options broker. All right. All right, so this is where you'll create a watch list. Now, you can create multiple watch lists, right? You can place a watch list for things that you're back testing or forward testing. You can create a watch list for just charts that you just want to study, okay? All you do is go to create new list, and you can create different watch lists, all right? You can also rename them and add a section. Now, over here, make sure y'all can see it. Over here, you'll see these numbers that's flashing, okay? And this is just the fluctuation in price that you're trading, right? That's all that this is. All right, market open, again, the fluctuation in price. Let's see if there's anything else over here. All right, so over here, you'll find the publish button at your top left, and you can start publishing your work for other people to see your chart. So let me see. right. So over here in Community Hub, right, they have professional traders that post their charts and they post their analysis on what they think is going to happen. And if you publish yours, then yours will be on this page as well. But it might not, get as much attraction until you start to build more followers, right? So it's basically like an Instagram or a TikTok, but here on TradingView for traders. Okay, just in case y'all didn't know that, they do have a community. As you see, this person posted a video with their breakdown. This person posted something understanding liquidity and where the big players hunt stops. Okay, so definitely go and explore this. All right. A lot of these people are swing traders. A lot of these people are swing traders. All right. And then also over here, you can find your economic calendar. Okay. Your screener, which screens the charts for you, and then sometimes will like give buy sell signals. I don't recommend using it if you don't know how to read a chart for yourself. Okay. All right. And then they just have the notification bell for the notifications that you have set up. All right. So definitely create your TradingView account and just click around. All right. So that's over there on the right side. If you didn't know, so the best way that I do with my trading journal, I take pictures of before and after pictures. So up here at the top right next to publish, you have a camera, okay? And you can take a screenshot, or you can download the image, copy the link, whatever. And then you can even send it to Twitter or X. Okay? So one of the things that I would suggest is you to just create your own private Discord channel or your own private Telegram channel just for yourself. Put all your notes in there and then screenshot all of your trades before and after. Hey, screenshot all of your trades before and after, okay? And then if it hits TP, of course, write out the process and break down on your chart what happened, and do the same thing if it hits stop loss. So that's the easiest way to create a journal. And then you'll have pictures, okay? And then what happens in the market, you get the same thing over and over again. So once you start to make that visual journal, you'll start to look back and be like, oh, I recognize this pattern. So I know what's going to happen, okay? Signals, the link is in the bio. All right. So now, what else do we have over here? This just takes it to full screen mode. This is your chart settings. You can click this settings gear, or you can just right click your chart and then do settings. Okay. And that's how you'll change your candlesticks. All right. Change your candlesticks, change the background. Okay. You could add a grid if you want. I don't like the grid. All right. You can put a watermark. A watermark is it'll show you what pair you're on. All right. And maybe I should have this up here so it'll be easier for people to see it. What else? This is how you change your colors. Symbol. Okay. Status line. Status line are these two lines right here. These are the only two that I have open. Okay, this is just where price is, right? This blue line is where price is. And then this red line is spread. Okay, so if you enter a trade, it's going to enter you up here at this red line and not this blue line. Okay, that's spread. Scales and lines also, just you got to go in here and just click around. Okay, but this is how you change up your chart to, okay, to get it the colors or whatever you want. They have dark mode. You can have a black screen. It doesn't have to be white. Alrighty. Now up here at the top, This button right here lets you undo something. So if I was to put this horizontal line on my chart and I didn't want it there, okay, I can just press this undo and it'll delete it. And then if I did need it there, I just press this one right here and it'll put it back. Okay. This is your replay tool. Okay. If you Duty will talk about that at about 9 o'clock. We got 20 more minutes in the beginners. So if you pay for TradingView, okay, and I think you can do it on the essentials, which is just $20 a month, you can be able to back test, okay? And so you'll just press the replay button and this blue bar, okay, will take you back to wherever you want to start. All right. And this is where you can back test, right? So you can get in a buy, you can get in a sell. All right. You can play the market as fast or as slow as you want. This is the replay speed. You can do it on whatever time you want. Okay. Don't go back too far though. Eventually, when you go back too far, the data isn't going to show up. Okay. And then once you find your position and you want to test out your position, then you just press the play bar. All right. And price will begin to play out. All right. And then you just press the X button to exit replay mode. All right. And next to the replay bar, we have our alert button. So I use alerts a lot. I use them so that I don't have to sit at price all day. Okay. So when price comes near my area that I'm interested in, which is most likely a fair value gap, we have one right here, I'll put the trend line on that area and then I'll press alert. All right. And so it is a symbol, EuroCAD, condition is price. All right. And then after price, you want the alert to go off when price crosses up or crosses down. So you have crossing up, crossing down, greater than, less than. Greater or less than is like literally the same thing as crossing up and down, right? So I just use crossing up or down, okay? And then horizontal line, or you can do value where you can type in the price, okay? But I just do horizontal line, all right? And then you can set it to trigger only once. So that'll mean when price gets to this area, one time it will alert you, or you can do once per bar. Since we're on the hour time frame, if it hits it once, it'll go off, and then the next hour, if it hits it again, it'll go off, okay? Or you can do once per bar close. That means once the candle closes, then it will alert you, okay? Or once per minute. So every minute price hits this chart, you will get an alert, okay? So that's definitely the easiest way to not sit here and watch the charts all day. All right, so these 4 squares right here, they're indicator templates, all right? And that's just if you create an indicator, okay? This right here next to it is where they house all of the indicators, all right? So there's 20,000 indicators. The main ones that a lot of people use are volume and these moving averages, okay? So that's where you find those at. I don't use any indicators, but if you do decide that you want to add indicators to your strategy, right, you're more than welcome to, because everybody learns to read the chart in different ways, right? So I'm going to give you the basics, I'm going to give you the strategy, and then you have to practice the strategy to get it to where you can understand it and read it. All right. Next to indicators, we have our candles. So this is where you will choose your different kind of candles. With the strategy that I use the Japanese candlesticks, okay? And I use those so that I can see these gaps in the market. See, like with the bars, I'm not sure. Maybe you can use it, but I don't like how that looks. I'm so used to that. Hollow candles, volume candles. Apparently, I can't use volume candles. Line. What is your line graph? This is how they tell you to draw support and resistance, right? You come to your line graph and find these areas that's equal, right? Line with markers. Yeah, there's so many different kind of candles. It's crazy. It's starting to get a little messy. Why are you trying to tell me I can't use something? Heiken Ashi candles. Okay. This is Trading View. No problems. And this will be in the Discord. Click the link in the bio for the free student server. All right. With all of the beginner stuff, we're almost done with the beginner session so that you can get what you missed. Okay. All right. So we use just plain old candles. Okay. All right. And then over here, these are all your time frames, and there are actually more time frames. Okay. Um, you it is definitely not recommended for you to be on the 1 second, but these are all the different time frames that you can look on the chart. Okay. Mainly, I have these starred, so this is what shows up here. Okay. And the time frames that I have up here are the main time frames that I use. All right. And then right here is where you will search for your pairs. Okay. This is what I showed y'all earlier, where it houses all of our pair names. Okay. Now, this plus button is where you can compare two different charts at the same time, but it brings it up as a line chart. So I recommend not using that. If you want to compare two different charts at the same time, you can come over here to this square button, right? And then you can place them vertically or horizontally, okay? And as you can see, it'll give you a better looking chart, right? But right now, y'all should only be focused on one pair anyways, okay? But as you can see, you can 12 charts at one time, which is crazy. 8 charts, 5 charts, 4 charts, looks like up to 16 charts. Just focus on one for right now. All right. And then you can add your picture because remember I said TradingView is like a community. So you can have your picture on here or whatever. Now we'll come over here to the toolbar. I wish I could pull it out, but I can't. So this first tool is what's going to show up when your mouse hits the chart. Okay. So I have the cross on, but you can do the dot. And as you see, it changes to a dot. Okay. You can just simply do an arrow, which I might keep mine as an arrow. Demonstration, it says new. I don't know what that is. And magic, that might be some AI stuff. We'll have to play with that one day. And then here is your eraser. So it's just easier for me to use delete, but you can use that eraser. Nope, I guess it only works on a highlighter. Let's see. See, yeah, but it's just easier to just do delete. All right. The next one is where it houses all of your lines, okay? So you have trend line, array. Array is like a trend line, but it doesn't have 2 points. It just has one, right? So you see it's just one-sided. And then a trend line, is 2, right? So a ray just goes from one side to the right, okay? And then a trend line, you have 2 where you can put it wherever. All right, and then you have an info line, and you see if I'm drawing it out, this is the same as that measurement tool that I showed y'all earlier to measure out your pips. This gives you the same stuff. It gives you information on it. So from where I marked to down here is 11 bars. Okay. I don't know what PX is. I'm so used to using the measurement tool, so let me verify. Okay. So this would be the pip count, 224. All right. And then it's saying something about degrees. I don't know what that is. A lot of this stuff on here you really don't need. All right. So then you have a trend angle. All right. It's just measuring the angles of the trend. You really don't need that. All right. I like to use my horizontal lines for my fair value gaps and my CRT zones. But you can use a trend line or a trend ray, whichever you like. Vertical line. Okay. It's just a line vertically. Cross line. Okay. How to make a chart. As far as like how to set up your chart, because when you log into TradingView, the charts aren't going to be there, right? But to do your settings, you'll see publish over here on the right, the camera, and then full screen mode, and then the settings gear. And you click the settings gear, and you can play with your chart with all of this, right? Or you can just right click and then go to settings. All right. And you can play with all of these as far as your colors, what you want on your chart, whether you want grids and lines and all of that stuff. Okay. And then even events. I took the events off, but you can add news to your charts. And then these session breaks. I hate session breaks, but you see those blue lines? We're not doing analysis until 9 o'clock. You see those blue lines? It'll let you know when a new session started. Okay. Economic events. Okay, I did have them on my chart. If you look down here in the corner, right here, that is an economic event, but you can take it off. All right. And an economic event is just news. All right. So the next one, we have all of our Fibonacci's. There's 20,000 Fibonacci's on here. Okay. I don't use the fib, so you can play around with this. If you ever find somebody who does use the fib, this is where they are housed, okay? Every now and then you can use like the GAN fib box to measure the 50% on your gaps, right? But it's just easier to use the rectangle box, okay? All right, next, you have all of your patterns. Again, we use a few patterns. We more so use wedge patterns, so we'll just use trend lines for that. But if you was to ever see like a head and shoulders, this is how they draw them out, okay? But I don't trade head and shoulders patterns. But if you ever, you know, look for more and somebody does do head and shoulders patterns, that's where you can find these, the Elliott wave, all of that. All right, this projection is where you'll find your short and long tools. How do I measure my gap? I use the rectangle right here. All right, I use the rectangle. All right, so you have your short and long. Long is a buy position, right? You see the green is up here, the red is down here. The green is your profit area, the red is your loss area. Okay, and then short is sell, and the same thing, right? I don't know what that is. I just had to draw it on there. Bars pattern. Okay. Bars pattern is when you get so good at predicting the trade that you can actually copy the bars, right? So you can go from here to here and it copies the bars. And then you can place those bars in an area that you think that is going to happen, right? And then you'll put your tool on it and then see if it plays out. I'll show you when we get there. Okay, so that's what the bars pattern is. I'm not sure what ghost feed is. Oh, look, more candles. Okay. When I tell you there's so much stuff on here, half of this stuff you will never use. All right, so that's about it. Y'all can play around with some more on that one. Now we're at brushes. Okay. This is if you want to draw up on your chart. Okay. I like to just use text, so I don't really draw anything on my chart. You have a highlighter. All right. You have arrow. I do use arrows. Okay. Just to like every now and then when I'm doing my chart and I'm looking for price to come back to the same area or something. All right. It's definitely a lot of tools. We're just going through it. All right. So yeah, I do use arrows every now and then. Like when I want to notate something on my journal, then I'll draw an arrow to it and then like do text like gap here or looking for price to come back to this gap, something like that. Okay. All right. So there's two different arrows. Well, really four different arrows. Okay. Arrow marker. That's that one. Arrow, skinny arrow, arrow, arrow up, and arrow down. All right. Now we have the rectangle tool. This is the main tool that I use, and this is what I use to draw my gap and get 50% on my gap. Okay. So for this, right, I you just double click it to get to the settings, okay? And then you go to style. My border is set at 0% because I don't really need my border, but this is what the border looks like because it's a rectangle. All right. But my border is set at 0%. And then I have middle line checked. That's how I get my 50% of my zone by just using this middle line. And then I don't check my background, but if I do, if you want, you can have a background, okay? And then you can click extend right to extend it further to the right, or you can press extend left to extend it to the left, okay? So that's how you get that 50% with that rectangle. All right, and then another thing that I use up in here is the path, right? So y'all have seen me put my rectangle up for my gap. And then I'll use the path to show you that I want to see price reject it and trade down, or I want to see price break through it, retest it, and trade up, okay? All right, and then the rest of these are a bunch of other ones that I don't use. Text, all right? Just type your notes on the screen when you're doing your journaling, all right? Anchored text, so to be down here. You can do a price note. So if I just put that right here and then I can pull it out, that tells me that this is what that price was. All right. You can put a pin and add a text. Table. I have a table chart saved and I use these charts for my rules. Okay. So when you're trading, you can make yourself a table, and as you go through the trades, you can come on here and like put an X or a check mark for each rule to help you not jump into the trade, right? So you need all of these rules to be crossed out before you take a trade, okay? And you just, how I did that, I created it, okay? And then I saved it as a template, okay? Call out is another way to text, okay? You can put price in one spot and then pull it out in case you have too much stuff cluttered in one area. All right, another price label. And again, you can tweet it. um, got a whole bunch of emojis. So I see a lot of people like to use dollar signs where liquidity goes, where liquidity is, right? So you can put a whole bunch of emojis if you want and have them uh, set for whatever you want to use it for, you know? Again, we use this ruler to measure pips and how long it took the trade to play out. So again, you see that says negative 168 because I'm going down, but if I was to go up, you see there wouldn't be a negative there, right? So right there, it says 113 pips. It took a day and 9 hours, okay? Yeah, I trade hold trades overnight. This is just to zoom in. Whoop, you see that? Zoomed all the way in. And that's just this magnifying glass over here. Can I get my chart back? Okay. All right. And then this magnet tool here is what I use to make sure my lines are like perfect. Okay. So when you go over each area, the magnet is just going to just snap sticks or these bodies. Okay. And I like to make sure that my lines are accurate. All right. This drawing tool, it says keep drawing. It will lock your chart. Well, I thought it'll lock it. Hold on. Kaya, how you doing? It's supposed to lock it. Did you see how the lock is open and then now it's closed? It's supposed to lock it. This right here locks it for sure, okay? So now you see that none of that is moving. And then you can individually lock these lines. If you click it and click that lock, it'll lock it, okay? This eye right here, if you click it, it will remove, well, not remove, but hide everything that you've drawn. And then you unclick it, it shows back up. All right. And then this clip, I don't know what this clip is. It says new drawings will sync in layout. I have no idea. All right. And then trash. Remove everything. Bam. Yes, remove it. All righty. It's 9 o'clock. How did that remove everything but this? It's 9 o'clock, and that concludes day 1 of our very beginner basics. Tomorrow we will start on day 2 at 8 p.m. If you missed anything from the beginning, this video will be in the Discord. You can join the Discord, the free student server. The link is in the bio. All right. All right, so now y'all can go ahead and drop your pairs that y'all want to do for daily analysis. And give me just 1 minute. Gold and EJ. Okay, give me just 1 minute. I need to send an email. Sienna. Yeah, EJ looked nice. I want to see if it's ready to, or GJ really. I want to buy GJ. Sienna, come check on Kaya. Kaya. Yep. Okay, sorry about that. We're doing our markups. All right. EJ and then go. You still don't know what I'm looking at the chart to mark. If you don't know what you're looking at in the chart to mark, why are you trading? Ooh, gold did not play today. Um, where's EJ? All right, Euro JPY. All right, on my chart, I have my CRT, my weekly CRT zones marked up. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. It doesn't look like it. So I'm going to delete this and we're going to mark this one up. Okay? This is why you're here. Yeah, please don't. You asked about Go. Are you in demo? Please be in demo. Yep, I have a YouTube account. The link is in the bio. All right, so we'll start on our monthly. Ooh, look at EJ. Okay. EJ has ran our monthly high. All right. So I'm going to mark up my monthly CRT for this one. All right. So that's my monthly high that I'm marking up. And 50% of my monthly zone. Okay. In order to find 50%, I just go from the high to the low. And then again, I'm using 50% of this. Are you still holding duty? No, you closed. There may be another entry because this is running that monthly CRT for sure. Dang, I missed this. All right, so on the weekly, I don't really see anything that I need to mark up. So now I can come down to my daily. All right, my daily, we have a fair value gap right here. All right, and a fair value gap is when you just have this a big open space area. So before this candle came into it, this was an open space because these two wicks did not connect. So if you see with the other candles, every candle traded back into the previous candle. And on this one, price did trade back, but not far enough to close this gap. So I'm going to mark up this gap because now price has come underneath this gap. And I want to see if price will retest this. Okay. 500 pips is great. That's what I would say about these monthly CRTs. You get a lot of pips. And I hate I missed that. All right. So now I come down to my 4 hour. Okay. And as you can see, price was in consolidation in this area. And then it finally broke a high. All right. That was our last high. This was the new high. And then price pulled back. So normally when price breaks a structure, right? Our last high, then you get a retracement. So price pulled back and then it gave us a new high. So this is why I was looking for price to continue higher inside of this gap right here. But now looking to see that this is a monthly CRT, and is this 50% or was this low? This is a gap. Okay, let me make that purple. All right, so now that I see that this is 50% of our monthly CRT, price could potentially come further down. All right. So in order for me to take this to a low, of course, we have our fair value gap. And what I want to see is price come underneath this gap and retest it and come lower, right? But because we had this daily gap right here, which is now an inversion, price could decide to come back here because there's also another little gap. Let me zoom in. CRT stands for candle range theory. All right. There's another gap right here on top of our daily gap. So price could decide to bounce back into this gap. Okay. And then from this gap, we can decide if price is going to come to the 50% or if price is going to make a new high. Hey, how you doing? You're welcome. We'll go over the CRT range in just a minute. All right. So that's what we're going to wait on EJ. Okay. Price technically has not hit this 50% yet. And it hasn't hit 50% of our hourly either. Right there. So I will wait. I will wait. And I will wait for these two gaps to show me or for that daily gap to show me what price is going to do. So even though in between time, because EJ gives a lot of pips, this is 67 pips, you'll get more pips by waiting, right? So if price comes underneath and retest, then you can take it down here for 105, right? And then if price decides it wants to get on top and give us a new high, then you'll go from this area to that high and you'll get 157 pips. Okay? Yeah, for sure. Definitely going to be looking for this. So I had it yellow. I'm not sure how I missed it. I think I wanted it to come back and fill in this gap up here. So what did we have, right? With our CRT range, we want to see price run a high or a low, and price did run our high. It came outside of our range, so that was running our high. And then we wanted to see price break structure, and this was our higher low that took us to our last higher high, and price broke structure. Okay. And then when it breaks structure, you want to see it create a gap, and it did. But price never came back up to this gap, so I think I kind of just counted it out. But then price started to give us new structure points. Okay? So here was another low. Price broke that low. Okay? Created another low. And another low. I only see one gap, which is right here that price respected. It didn't respect this one. It didn't respect that one. So for me personally, I wouldn't have had a way into this trade Although it gave me all of my other rules, it never came back to my gap. You scared of odd pairs? I used to be scared of these JPY pairs. But now it's just like, just gotta trust the process. So that's what we have on EJ. Whoever asked about EJ, do you understand what we're waiting on? I just want to see if there was a gap that price is moving from on this. See, like it didn't come to this one, and it looks like we have one here. All right. We have one here on the 15-minute. Okay, we'll go to gold. Let me look at the yen real quick. All right. So the yen looks like it's turning itself around. I had something marked up. Let's see. All right, so we'll go to the monthly. All right, we have a fair value gap right here on the monthly on the yen. All right, and then I'll mark up my weekly CRT, which is my high, my low, and 50% of that range. Okay, so this is what we have on the yen, right? And this should send uh, the JPY cross pair, so GJ, EJ back up, right? It should, right? Because this is a bearish fair value gap. But it looks like price is also consolidating in this area for a little while. It's been here for 16 hours. Okay. So at this point, we just got to wait and see, right? Because if it gets on top of this, then it can decide to come to that high, and then we'll get our monthly CRT range. We was looking at EJ. Now we're gonna look at gold. Fortunas, did you hold gold? Cause that was a good gold trade that you caught on that buy. That look at gold, y'all. I was not expecting this because why did gold move like that and the dollar is moving bullish? So when I don't have my confirmations as far as the dollar and gold, they're supposed to correlate opposite. And if they don't correlate opposite, then I don't touch it, right? I don't touch it. But gold is moving back up. Gold is moving back up. So we have our weekly CRT, and price just closed or opened extremely bullish outside of that range, right? This was our last hourly candle. So what you can expect now is to let price run this area right here. Let price run that and let this hourly candle close, and then you have a gap. Okay? But this hourly candle has to close in order for you to have a gap right here. But actually, we can come down to the lower time frame. Let's see. All right. So now you have two gaps that you can play off of, right? So if gold is going to continue bullish, then of course you never want to get in on a high. You want to get in on a retracement. You want to see price pull back and then you can take it higher. Where is gold going? Okay, we got a gap here. We got a gap here on the 4 hour. Okay, so if it's gonna continue bullish and it's moving, right? Wait for a pullback. You have to wait for a pullback. I mean, you can enter at a high if you want. You're gonna cash out. Nice, cash out. You got a Discord. You hit NQ and go today. Nice. I caught a little bit on Nas today. I was being so lazy. I slept in. It's the Bitcoin effect. Well, so the market moves in cycles, right? The market moves in cycles, and this is just our bullish cycle. Um, Thanks for the roses. All right, so the market moves in cycles, right? It does this every year, right? Summertime, just like when you see the gas prices start to go up during the summertime, and then they don't go back down into the beginning of the year because everybody's traveling, and then Nas starts to move up, and then it doesn't go back down into the beginning of the year because everybody's making money, moving money throughout the market, especially the end of the year, right? They remember they have that Christmas rally at the end of the year. It's a cycle, right? So this is the cycle. If y'all want to just go to Chat GPT or go to Google, and then you can also Google the seasonality chart. Okay, but the market moves in a cycle, and we're in May. It's saying sell May, but this is the beginning of May, and with our president pausing the tariff stuff and everything, it's starting to look good for our market, right? Because remember, we had some bad sales in February. Okay, you use Chat GPT at times. I say don't use it if you don't know how to trade, right? Because it's just going to tell you stuff that you don't understand. All right. But whoever asked for gold, we're looking for a pullback. Looking for a pullback and then take it up to this 4 hour gap. Okay. So this right here on the 4 hour is a bullish flag, right? This is the pole, and this is our flag, and then price is going to continue higher. Right. Definitely got to stay calm. Okay, so who asked about gold? I say go to your weekly, and I wanted to see price come back into this before giving us this bullish part up, but it didn't want to do that. And then look at this freaking candle. We're just on Monday. What other do we have news? Any other news this week? All right, so today was Cinco de Mayo. GBP had a bank holiday. I did not know that, and JPY. Tomorrow we just have some red folder NZD news. We got FOMC on Wednesday. Okay. Yeah, gold is looking like it's gonna do some all-time highs. So FOMC on Wednesday, that's gonna be a big one, and we'll be here to watch that. But on gold, mark up your weekly high, okay, which is right here. Let this candle close, and then mark up this hourly gap when this candle closes, okay? Core, did it say core CPI? I just saw FOMC. I used to have Forex Factory right here. I don't know who messed up my Google. I think core CPI is next week. Wednesday. Yeah, just federal funds at FOMC. Unemployment claims on Thursday. Yeah, CPI is next week. Okay. GBP fighting us. So did you? Alrighty. All right, so I'm gonna go over GBP, NZD, and then AUD/CAD because I'm in those two trades. FOMC on Wednesday. What is FOMC? Is that what you're asking? All right. FOMC usually changes the statement slightly at each release. I'm sorry, just waiting on that. It contains the outcome of their vote on interest rates and other policy measures, okay? Along with commentary about the economic conditions that influence their votes. Most importantly, it discusses the economic outlook, all right? So it's also called interest rate statement, Fed statement, monetary policy, okay? So that's what FOMC is, okay? If the interest rates are good or they cut interest rates, then that's good for the currency and that will shoot the dollar up, okay? And if they raise them, then that's bad for the currency and shoot the dollar down. So last month, we don't get any previous or forecast on this. Well, last month, the federal funds rate was 4.50%, and they're forecasting 4.50%. Okay, if it comes out as 4.55, right, then this number will be red and it's bad. But if it comes out at 450 or less, then this number will be green and that's good. Okay. So since this is at 1, we'll actually be here on live. Y'all, I be sleeping in. I'm sorry. We'll actually be here on live and but y'all, I be trying to get up in the morning for y'all for New York. I literally trade from my bed. Okay, I mark my chart up and I trade from my bed. So one of these days, I'm gonna get up. I promise. All right, CAD, CHF. No, we're gonna go over GBP, NZD first because I think that was near entry. SGJ, SGU, that's CAD. Yeah, that's odd. I think that's CHF. Okay, here we go. All right, GBP, NZD. It looks like it's giving me a CRT move. Whoever asked about what CRT, are you still in here? Or has anybody been on here where we've been explaining the candle range theory before I remark this chart up? All right, so we're all pretty good on CRT. You? Okay. All right, so I'm going to delete my chart. CRT stands for Candle Range Theory, okay? And it was created by a guy named Romeo, who is ICT student. And I trade ICT concepts. His name is Inner Circle Trader, or his real name is Michael. And his concepts is just fair value gaps, order blocks, liquidity, stuff like that. Okay. And so with Romeo's CRT zones, it's basically that every candle trades into the previous candle, right? So as you can see, this will be considered a previous candle, and this candle ran a high and a low, right? Right? This is the previous candle. This one didn't quite come all the way into it, but it did trade into it, okay? Majority of the time, you can get a good 50% of the previous candle. So that's what we're trying to catch on the CRT move. If not, then price will create these gaps, right? So what we do is I use the weekly candles because I can get more pips. So this is our current week's candle. I mark up the previous week's candle. So we mark up the high, the low, and then I use my rectangle tool and I just go from the high to the low. and I draw it out, and this middle line gives me my 50% range. I'm sorry, y'all, TikTok Studio. Okay, so then I will just go further down the chart just to see if I have any trend lines or any gaps. Okay, so I'll just do my regular top down analysis, and I don't see any other trend lines. I do see a little gap right here. Okay, this is a value gap when you have these gaps in the market, right? Where price doesn't completely trade into the other candle. You see it leaves these gaps instead of going wick to wick, okay? And I mark up my fair value gaps because these fair value gaps are true support and resistance, okay? Instead of using, all right, and I don't see any trend lines or any other gaps. I do see a gap right here, but it's so close to this one, and this is a higher time frame gap. So the higher the time frame, the more price is going to be a magnet to the area. Since this was a daily gap, this daily gap is going to trump this 4-hour gap. I can barely see y'all comments for some reason. If you said that looks like a buy on GBP NZD, yep, we're already in the buy. All right, all right. So now I'm going to come down to the hourly, okay? And I want to see if there's anything else here on the hourly that I want to mark up. I don't see any other gaps. I don't see any other FVGs. I do see one right here. All right. All right, so I have that one right there. So now with these CRT ranges, you want to wait for price to either run the low or the high. And in this case, price. All right. So for these CRT ranges, you want to see price either run the low or the high. And in this case today, price ran our low. Okay, so step one is mark up the ranges, and then step two, or the low or the high of the range to be met. Okay, to run. And then step three, wait for price to come back into the range and break structure on either your hour or down to your 15 minutes. So the hour, the 30-minute, or the 15-minute. Okay. So on this one, I didn't wait for a break of structure, although I'm sure we got one because this was our last structure point here. Okay. And this area took us to our last low. Okay. So this was our last structure point. All right. Price held up over here on this bullish candle. And as you can see, it gave us a gap. Okay. I waited for price to get on top of this inversion fair value gap. Okay. And price got on top of our inversion and then came back and retested our zone again. Okay. And now it's breaking our internal structure higher lows. So these are internal structure higher lows, and prices continue to make internal structure higher high. Okay. So we are already in this trade. All right. I hate that I didn't do that one right. So let me know if you understood the CRT play. If not, we can find another one. But it's basically step one, you mark up your weekly high, low, 50%, and then you wait for price to run outside of the high or the low, okay? And then you wait for price to come back inside the range and break structure. And you want that break of structure to create a fair value gap, okay? And then you want price to come back to the fair value gap, and that will be your entry. And your TP will be at 50% of the zone. All right. All right. So we are in GBP, NZD, and then I had another one on OddCAD. All right, and then I was waiting on this one on AUD, NZD. As you see, we have this trend line. I wanted to see price break away from it and create a fair value gap. And then I'll be looking for a sell on odd NZD, but we don't have anything yet on that. Don't have an entry. Where is OddCAD? All right, OddCAD. Now with OddCAD, price has not come back inside of our weekly range yet, but we had this daily fair value gap here, okay? And yesterday's candle, technically today, but yesterday's candle closed underneath our 50%, okay? And then it came back and it closed underneath our 50%. It gave us a break of structure that created a fair value gap, and price came back to the gap, and then it began to trade away, okay? On CAD, I am being cautious right here at our weekly high, okay? Because I have this gap here, and then we have another fair value gap up here on the 4-hour. So price could decide that it just wants to bounce off of this weekly to take it higher, okay? So I'm being cautious. If you want to play it safe, wait for price to get underneath the weekly, okay? And that 50% is spot on the weekly. Wait for price to get underneath it and retest it. Okay? And then you can take it down to here, this hourly gap. Or this 4-hour fair value gap here. Okay? And this got to give us some type of retrace, right? Because this is an impulsive move. All right. And so this is just trying to trade the correction of that move. So I'm actually going to put an alert here so that I can see what happens when it comes to this area. All right. Any other ones before? GJ. All right. So let's see what the yen is doing real quick. The yen looks like it's trying to consolidate. So what I wanted to see is GJ buy up from this area, right? because we had our consolidation range, right? Price price gave us an impulsive move, and then it left us a gap. All right, I'm going to delete this first line. I want to see if this is 50% of that gap or if that's 50% of a different gap. All right, cool. We made it to 50% of that hourly gap. Price already touched this gap right here, gave us a little pullback, and now it looks like price is trying to push up some more. Did I manage to? Yep, the beginner session was from 8 to 9. Join the Discord, and I'm going to drop the link in there either tonight or tomorrow for the replay, okay? My only thing about this GJ play, right? And I'm actually just going to go ahead and get in. The only thing that I don't like is my stop loss is going to be a little big because stop loss will be below this candle right here. Let me make sure it's accurate. It's 70 pips. Can we analyze UJ? Yeah. Now, the safer way, right, to take this UJ play, well, price already gave us some structure break, right? So we had our consolidation, we had on our relative liquidity, which price hit that 50%, and then it gave us an impulsive move, and then price did create a gap, but price decided to come back to this order block, okay? So I may just do a tighter stop loss then. My only thing about doing this tighter stop loss is price could come back and touch this gap again, right? Because sometimes it does that. So I'm going to do the bigger stop loss. I am. I'm going to do the bigger stop loss, and then as price progresses, then I'll tighten it. So I'm going to buy GJ. I'm definitely going to lower my lot size because that lot size, okay? Right, GBP. Can't do nothing but wait. GBP, especially JPY pairs, can be a little outrageous, especially JPY pairs. So I'm lowering my lot size. All right, and then I'll find my TP later. Lot sauce. Am I hungry? I'm not. I ate before. All right, let's go to UJ. And I'm going to move this other one up. Spare in these. Only thing I don't like about EJ is it didn't come down to that 50%. That's the only thing I don't like. UJ is UK. All right, UJ. So we got the same thing on UJ, right? So price came up last week to this 4-hour fair value gap. And then this is the top of last week's area. Price is playing around on 50%. Okay. And we have this gap that price has not touched yet. I would say that price is reacting from this gap, but I would rather see it touch that 4-hour gap because it's so near, right? and we're consolidating on top of here. So I'd say wait for price to get to 50% of this. If price doesn't get to 50% of this and it ends up closing on top of 50% of the weekly, then you can, let's see, wait for it to break the last structure point, which would be here, and then retest the 50% and then take it higher. But I for sure say wait, because this is making consolidation, and consolidation is just liquidity. So all it needs to do is just wick down and run all of that, and then go higher. And there's a gap right here, right? There's a gap right here, and then this is where a lot of people use the fib tool, right? So you'll place it on your low to your high, right? And what I was taught, if price hits the 618, then it is going to hit the 618 on the fib. If price hits 50%, then it'll hit the 27. If price only comes to the 23, then that means it's not done pulling back. And then if price is sitting in between the 0 and the 23, it's consolidating, and it's going to pull back some more. So there is another gap up here, right? I'd say once you get to this gap, just make this your TP1, take some partials, move your stop loss and profit, and then see if price hits this second one, right? Or you can always open two positions, split up your risk between those two positions, set TP1 here on that one position, and then on the other position, set your TP here, okay? So that way you have full profits on one position, and then the second position, once it gets to TP1, move your stop loss into profit, and see if we can run to this TP. Yeah, the same zone's nice. I'm definitely going to set an alert here. Definitely going to set the alert here, okay? You're welcome. Yeah, when you trade the same stuff on ICT and you end up like studying it, then it's for sure definitely going to be the same, right? And as you can see, price is definitely trying to pull on down. So, all right, so I'm going to move UJ up and make it yellow because we're watching it. And then I'm in odd CAD. I need to move that and make that green. All right, SPX. I'm in. Am I still in NAS? I am. I'm still in NAS. I took some partials and then I moved my stop loss to entry. Remember on NAS, we was looking for price to come back to that gap and then sell, and it did just that. So I'm in this NAS sell, holding it to the 4 hour. Let's look at NAS real quick. All right, so this morning, price bought up to this gap, okay? And then it gave us this pin bar, which let me know that it was coming back down. So I'm trying to hold it to this area here. I want to see this gap filled in. So my entry is up here and my stop loss is at TP, and I've already taken partials on this trade because I looked at US 30. I trade futures and Forex. I'm in this one on Forex though, right? Because you can't hold trades on futures as well as for prop firms. I'm not sure on the live account if you can hold it or not. I've just been taking it because I haven't really double checked to see if you can hold it between that break. But when I do want to hold it, I just hold it on the Forex side. So I want to see price come back down to this 4 hour. but I want to enter another position. So I was waiting for price to break this hourly fair value gap. And then I want to see, of course, a retest, right? And then some more rejection. And then I'll get in a second position. NQ and NAS is the same thing. Yep, it's just a different name. Let me show you. You see, it says NQ E mini NASDAQ 100 futures. What this turn to the dollar? See that? It's the same thing. Same chart. Same gap. Okay. You're long. I'm in shorts. All right. I am in shorts until price fills my gap. Okay. And then if it does decide to turn around, like I said, my stop losses at entry have already taken partials, but this is giving me not longs because it rejected my hourly fair value gap. Okay. So this is where I got in up here. I want to now what I want to wait and see if this gap right here holds. Okay. Right, and it did fail a high. Sure did. Okay. So I'm waiting to see if this hourly gap right here holds and then retest it. And that's why I'll get another entry for this 4 hour. I want to see price come back to this 4 hour. Okay. Now US 30 actually ran a, hopefully we can get a CRT play on here, right? So this was our weekly high. Price came outside of our range. And I got like some kind of trend line on here from somewhere. I got this trend line right here, right? And it looks like price is trying to reject that trend line also. Now, what I want to see is price come underneath whatever gap this is. Hold on. All right. This daily gap right here. So this is our daily gap. This line right here is 50% of that daily gap. Price comes underneath here and close, and then gives me some type of pullback. And then I can also even put a trend line right here. Definitely get a break and retest some type of way, or fully like price breaks and retest under this gap right here. Then for sure, I'm going to short US 32. Right? Because this would be a CRT plate for US 30 because it ran outside, break and retest this gap, and then take it down to 50%. Okay? And then you can even play it even safer with this gap right here. Right? So you got two gaps that you can play it safe from. Come down to the lower time frame and watch price retest it. But price on our minor structure is making lower highs and lower lows. That was nice right there. That outside of the CRT, right to that top of that gap, that was a nice little move. And you know, you don't really need much on US 30 or NAS. You don't need much. So I definitely want to see price break this little trend line, get underneath this daily gap because it already ran that liquidity. And I'm taking it down to 50%. And then you have that same fair value gap right here on the 4 hour. Now from there, it could shoot back up, right? But you just got to take it one step at a time. Because there is some liquidity down here that it could decide that it wants to come and run. But you don't need much on these pairs. Okay? Sienna, Josiah. Sienna and Josiah. I know they ain't sleep. They hear me. It's their bedtime. They do move fast. That's why I get down to the 1 minute. Put your phones up. Get ready for bed. It's 9:55. Bedtime. Now the dollar is continuing to move higher. I missed this entry on GU. I missed this entry. I was originally looking for a price to reject from here, which it did, and then it traded higher. So I'm kind of glad I didn't touch it. I'm just going to let GU and EU do whatever they're doing until they come outside of my CRT ranges. And then show me something. Right? EU never even came to 50% of this gap. Whatever this is, I guess it's retesting structure here. That could be a decent move right there. And price came back into this gap right here. I just don't like that it didn't touch my 50%. So remember, if it don't touch my 50%, I don't want it. I'm going to leave it where it's at. My broker is CoinX. The link is in the bio. If you're in the US, you're going to have to put other because they use MetaTrader. And you know, we're not supposed to be using MetaTrader in the US. All right, so whoever caught gold, not caught it, but was looking at gold, we getting that pullback. Now, my only thing is with this continuing being bullish, this could be a CRT move, right? So we have to wait and be patient. This gap right here is going to tell us everything that we need to know, though, right? That don't look right. I need to put my other cursor back. I don't like this. Okay. All right. So this gap is going to tell me everything I need to know. If price is going to continue higher, it's going to continue higher from here. And if price is going to go lower, it's going to come underneath and retest it and go lower from here. So I'm going to set my alert. Check GU, you're in a buy. GU is moving down. Okay. So it just hit another gap. Right? So this was a fair value gap right here, or is a bearish fair value gap. Price tried to get on top of it, and then it dropped, and now it looks like it's retesting it. So I would, now the only thing about this is also looks like it's closing in an evening star, and an evening star is a bullish move, but it never ran my CRT range for this to be a valid CRT move for me. Okay, and then also We can put it here, right? It's kind of moving sideways, right? We're not really getting a new high. Like we got a new high, but we didn't get a new high, right? So it could buy back up to here, right? And then come back down. I don't have anything clear. And then if you come back down to the lower time frame, you'll see it a little better also. Okay. So price looks like it's rejecting that inversion that was on the hourly. This one right here. So if price gets on top of this and then retest it, go for it. Go continue your buy. Okay. But right now it's trying to reject it. It's definitely about to pull back because we got a balanced price range right here. And a balanced price range is when you have a fair value gap and an inversion in the same area. Okay. GJ, we ended up getting in a buy on GJ. The stop loss is kind of wide. The stop loss is kind of wide, but it did. This is GBP SED. Here we go. So GJ, we had this big impulsive move, and now this is our correction, and we're looking for price to continue. Price came to 50% of our fair value gap. So I entered in a buy, and my stop loss is below this wick. Okay. So I am in a buy on this, but only thing about this stop loss is huge, but it's still a 3-1. But I don't really like 69 pip stop loss. And then JPY, the yen is kind of consolidating at this 4-hour fair value gap. So we definitely want to see this move to the downside, right? Because what do we have again? Impulse correction, and then we want to see some continuation and let price continue to move down further. So if the yen, of course, moves down, then the pound should be buying, which would mean JPY would buy. GBP JPY would buy. Okay. And then US 30, we were waiting for price to get underneath this 4-hour fair value gap here. Not that one. Okay. Where's this gap? Nope. Daily. That's what it was. This is daily. So we got a daily gap right here. Okay. And this is our current price candle. This one right here. And price is just currently teetering on this candle. Okay. That end is right at this weekly trend line here. As you see, it hit it 1, 2, 3 times. Now we got this big bearish move that came through it, and then price came back up to the trend line. So it's looking like a good break and retest. Okay. But I want to wait for price to completely get up under there. And then we have a little trend line here on the hourly. And so I was waiting for price to, of course, break away from the trend line and then come back and retest this gap right here. And then take it for a sell if it does break underneath to this 4-hour fair value gap. Okay. But again, if it doesn't and price just decides that it wants to bounce off of this and that trend line, then there is another gap above. I think it's on the 4-hour though. Right here on the 4-hour that hasn't been touched. So we're just waiting for this gap right here to let us know what to do on US 30. You're welcome, Aisha. Isha. Which one is it? Monday Nerd, did that help? Yes. Okay. Isha. Okay. Gotcha. Alrighty. So we're definitely looking for these on Nas. Same thing on Nas. Monday Nerd. Price has broken underneath this hourly fair value gap. I want to see it retest and then come back down to this 4 hour. Okay. And it looks like price is trying to create another gap here. So if we get another gap, then that would definitely be where you would want to sell inside from. This is Traded View. Oh, nice. I'm glad you got the same trade. I love it when we can all come together and make some money together in the market. Okay, because sometimes some people see other stuff that I don't see. Now, odd CHF ticked me off, right? Because look, we hit stop loss. But just looking at this, right? Wouldn't you see a buy where it's clearly making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. So of course, when it comes here, I'm like, yeah, we got liquidity here, and there's another gap here. Well, I got stopped out because it decided that it wanted to do a weekly CRT play. So price came outside of the range, and then it came back and broke our structure, left us a perfect gap, and now it's trading down. I missed this. I missed this, but we got stopped out at 14 pips. I can't be mad at 14 pips. That's one thing I like about structuring these ranges on certain pairs. The TP is always going to be greater than our stop loss. So I just missed that one. Can't cry over spilled milk. All right. And see, CAD JPY is giving the same thing. It's looking bullish, right? We all got this same gap. This same gap. And we got this impulse and correction. Then CAD JPY left some liquidity up here. And thanks for sharing the live. Hey. So we got an alert set on gold. CAD CHF came underneath this trend line and it gave me a retest. So I am in this, just taking it down to the low. USD CHF AU. All right, looks like AU is trying to give us a pullback to this gap here. I want to see what that line is. Okay, so we ran our monthly high on AU. So I'm actually going to delete this gap up here because it doesn't look like it's coming up here. So we ran our monthly high on AU, right? And then looks like I have my weekly CRT marked up also. Okay. And you already gave us a little pullback. Let's see. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm gonna sell AU. We came into the market just in time. I'm selling AU, and my stop loss is gonna be here. You can find that 30-minute candle. Okay. And then TP at this hourly fair value gap on AU. And I think that's gonna be it for me. You was sleep, girl. You gonna be up all night now, ain't it? I can't talk much. I literally should you hold gold? What are you in? Are you gonna buy or sell? I literally um did nothing today. I was just in my bed. It's rained all day, and I was just in my bed trying to upload the YouTube videos. I didn't even really watch TV. You're in a sale. So with gold, I'd be careful, okay? Because it looks like it's retesting this weekly zone and trying to go up. And then I definitely want, I said we want into this gap right here, right? So I don't want to be in a sell until price breaks this gap, okay? And preferably until price breaks this structure area and then pulls back to this gap, okay? Trying to get to the 50% retracement, well, you got to wait on the steps, right? So price has to come back in the zone for it to be valid, okay? So price didn't come back into the zone. Remember, you mark up your CRT range, and then you wait for price to run the range, and then you wait for price to come back in the zone and break structure with a fair value gap. Now, price already gave us a fair value gap, and then we could wait on this break of structure here. And then once price breaks structure, let it pull back, okay? And then you can sell it to 50%. But you have to be careful on these CRT ranges because it's just like a fair value gap or support and resistance, right? Actual true support resistance, because it can reject off of it and then decide that it wants to go higher because there is another gap up here on the 4 hour. Okay. And we still have an hour and 47 minutes left in this candle. So this candle is still ranging. All right. But we did sell AU. Okay. And we're taking AU to this hourly fair value gap, and stop loss is above this gap, right? So we had our monthly CRT high, okay, and price came outside of that range. It then came back in that range and broke our structure, and this is our structure point because to our last high, okay, and price came in and broke that. Mm, GBP odd. I was looking for GBP odd to run a little bit lower because there's a gap right here on the monthly. So, so I'm not sure if the CRT is going to play out, but price has gotten on top of this fair value gap here, okay, and it did run outside of the range, and then it did come back inside of the range. Yep. Send you to class. Are you in the Discord? Okay, right here. So this is why I would be cautious because this gap right here could send us. So I am actually going to set my alert here. And if we do get some rejection, then I am going to sell that. Are you in the Discord? She's MJ Bad. watch list. Let me move these up. Ooh. EJ is closing good above whatever that is. I don't know. Is it this gap? Nope. It must be this little 15-minute gap. It closed above it. It broke structure because this is our last structure point that took us to this last low, and it created a gap. And it looks like price is inside of this gap right now. It hit it. So we may not get. Sometimes this is where you have to wait on London session because 3 o'clock come, and just like 9:30 come, you'll get some of those crazy spikes. So sometimes you just have to wait on London session. And what's tomorrow? Tuesday. You about to sign in? Okay, sign in. Okay, I'll call you MJ. Sign in, and then tonight I'll download it because it takes a little while to download, and then I'll upload it and send it. Okay. You know, I just realized my son never came out his room. He must be asleep. Joe! Sienna, check on Joe. He never put his phone up. I can't hear you. He sleep. He's gonna get his phone because he'll get up in the middle of the night and then be up all night. All right, so USD CHF looks like it's consolidating at this gap. We do have a 4-hour gap down here. But the dollar and these USD pairs have been moving a little crazy. A little crazy. All right, so Euro odd. Euro odd came outside of its CRT range, and it hit 50% of this weekly gap. This should be another good one. All right, I will wait until price breaks its structure, okay, and give you some type of gap to get in, and then take that up to the 50%. Now, this would be one that I would hold because we have this weekly imposed correction continuation. So this might be one of the ones that you can do 2 trades on, right? And remember, the first trade set TP for 50%, and then the second trade set TP for last week's high. So I'm moving that up, and I will set this alert. You're welcome. So Euro odd, look out for that buy. Okay. Yep, all CHF is moving down. All right, look, odd NZD. That's what we was looking for. All right. So what I was looking for was price to break this trend line and leave us a gap. When this candle closes, we'll have a gap. Okay. And then wait for price to trade back into that. But you got to wait for this candle to close. All right. That looks like that might be it for the week. Izzy DCAD played no games. When it opened up on Sunday, it came to this gap and shot up. It played no games. And I saw it and I just watched it because I was like, it's Sunday. The market didn't care. Gave out 77 pips beautifully. I'm not gonna touch it. Technically, didn't get a full run outside of the CRT range, so I'm gonna leave that be. Euro GBP. Why is it making that noise? Euro GBP. Let's see what happens at this gap. Okay, this is also another flag pattern where you got this flag pole, and then you have this little sideways movement down into the gap, and then it should buy back up. We have some liquidity over here. Okay, so I wait on that confirmation and see what that happens. I trade ICT concept. All right, I just have to wait on that to finish. I trade ICT concepts with Romeo CRT range. Okay, and I do the weekly CRT range, so that's what you see these lines here. This is the high of last week, that's 50%, and this is the low. Okay, and then you want to see price come outside of the high and then come back into the range and break structure. I look for breaking structure either on the hourly, the 30, or the 15-minute. And in this case, we got a 15-minute break of structure here on CHF, right? And then price create a gap, price trade back into the gap, and then come down to the 50%. This was a trade that was missed, but it was a CRT play. Okay. Yep. Thanks, Infinite Champ. Johnny, did you just get that? Gold, there was a fair value gap on the weekly time frame. How come it never went? Listen, I don't know. I was expecting that myself. So yesterday, and you see what I said about these CRT zones? You see how it touched it and now it's pushing back up? Now, yesterday we were down here, right? And we had a 4-hour fair value gap, right? So this rejection happened last week, Friday. Okay, and then the market came and it pushed back up. And I don't know if y'all can see it, but there's a little wick right here, right? And so we missed the entry on this wick right here. And so on the lower time frame, we went back and I saw that there was a run on liquidity, a break of structure, and a gap. And so I was like, well, we'll just wait to see if price pulls back into that area. Price pulled back into that area, and then it just kept going. And by the time all of this happened, you see, it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was asleep. When I woke up, I was like, wow, wow, gold. So why it never came to this gap, I don't know. I was expecting it to come to this gap. I wanted it to come to this gap, right? But this is why you got to wait on your confirmations. And we didn't get our confirmation. So it decided to buy. And it bought heavily. All right. So now I am just waiting. Okay. Because although it looks like price retested this area and it's pushing back up, now it looks like it's trying to reject from this area. So I'm just waiting for price to come to this 30 minute. Okay. If it rejects and then close outside of our CRT range, that lets me know that it's trying to reach up for this 4-hour gap, right? And then if it doesn't and it comes inside and breaks this structure, then pulls back to this gap, then I'll take it down here to 50%. Okay. 50% of my weekly range, or possibly just this gap right here. okay? Because the range is right here, so. And I'm actually going to delete all of these because it's irrelevant for me at the moment. We don't need any of these gaps anymore. You're in the UK? Nice. What time is it there? So do you normally trade this session or do you stay up later? And see, it gave an entry right here for the buy, right? It sure did. But if I don't like it, I'm not going to take it. If I'm iffy about it, I'll just let it watch it and let it play out. I'd rather learn from it than lose money from it. We don't have that one marked up, and I'm not even going to mark them up. All right, Euro CHF might have a possible CRT move. You see, price came out of the range. Now it's trying to come back in the range. All right, wait on a break of structure with a fair value gap, and then take it up here to 50%. All right, these are just what you call it. All right, so that looks like that's about it for today. We definitely got a lot of pairs to watch. So we got gold, we have UJ and this 4-hour gap possibly. We got GBP odd, okay, and actually GBP odd already broke structure. GBP odd already broke structure, and it could buy back up right here, but I'm not gonna touch it because it was in such this heavy downtrend, and it left some liquidity right here and a weekly gap right here. So if I'm going to touch it, I'm going to wait for price to get to this 4-hour gap. And then if we get some rejection, sell it back down. It's a good 267 pips. GBP gives out some good pips. You know, I had a mentor tell me one time to not touch GBP because it's just in consolidation, right? And I was like, what? Now look, if we zoom out, right? Let me see if I go to the monthly. If we zoom out, technically it's somewhat like it was in consolidation right here, and then it gave us this push, and now we're in consolidation over here. But like this range is 6,000 pips. Like what? Are you serious? And when she told me that, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of your thing anymore. Bitcoin. Yep, I'm a day trader. Bitcoin looked like it was setting up for a good sell. I actually was looking at it. Earlier. And Bitcoin. What range is this? I might remark this. Okay, it's my weekly range, so it's gonna be good. It's my weekly range, and then there's a big gap down here that price could come down and fill. I say could possibly, but what it's looking like on this hour, it would definitely be nice to see price come back and fill this gap, and then take it down to last week's low. And then this pattern right here, this is what you call an upside down flag, right? So you have your flagpole, okay, and then price is moving sideways, and then it's supposed to sell again. So it could be possible that it may not come a little higher because we do have a gap right here, and that might be what's sending it down. The best way to do this is to mark up this little trend line here. And then wait on a break or recess. And then trade that down if price doesn't come in here. Okay? Down to last week's low. GJ. So we're in buys on GJ. I'm not sure about resistance on the daily. I don't do support resistance, right? So price came into this daily fair value gap and then it closed underneath, right? And then we had this big impulsive candle, right? So this looks like an impulse correction and then continuation higher. Okay, so if you look at it here on this 4-hour, we had this consolidation area, price ran liquidity, and then it gave us an impulse move out, creating a gap. Okay, price corrected back to the gap, and now we're taking it back to equal highs on GJ. It's not allowing you to join. DM me your email and I'll email it. So I've been having issues with this freaking Discord server. I'm gonna have to look for somebody on Fiverr to figure it out for me because I don't know what's going on. Can you buy GJ now? Yeah. Stop loss is kind of wide, so don't go crazy. It's this wick right here on this hourly gap. You need to understand the market. Join the Discord. The link is in the bio. If it doesn't let you in, send me a DM for your email. But we've started our beginner classes. It started today at 8, and beginner classes go from 8 to 9, and then excuse me, and then 9 to 11 we do our daily markup sessions. Can y'all do me a favor and tap the screen? Can we get this to 10K hearts, please? So, Sammy, did you hear me? Good morning. So we're literally doing beginner to intermediate to advanced. Okay, so today we just talked about very beginner basics as far as what is forex, what's a pit, what's leverage. We went over the charts, and then tomorrow, I'm not sure what we'll talk about, but I'll come up with it. But we're doing very beginner basics, and then we'll be moving into setting up demo accounts, and then learning how to read these candlesticks, and learning how to read the charts, and then y'all taking trades on demo, and then I'll be checking your P&Ls on demo before you're allowed to move into your live. All right, so just get your money saved up so that eventually in a couple months, just put $100 in a live account, and you're going to be using micro lots and growing your live account. Thank y'all for the hearts and the gifts. But we went over everything. So we got alerts set. Nas might be giving us a little retest here. I'm going to leave it be though into New York session. Yeah, EJ's moving up. EJ is trying to play. Now, EJ is going to be one that I may just get up for London just to figure out, right? Because it literally came like not even a whole pip. Not even a whole pip. If it gets on top of this gap right here and retest it, then I'm going to get in. And I'm going to take it back to the high. Is there any gaps up here for this? Ooh, I'm sorry. There's a gap, but that's too far. any other liquidity areas for EJ. Then Euro odds not breaking structure yet. And then odd NZD, we're waiting for that gap to be formed. All right, guys, so we may be getting off of here early. Especially with TikTok messing with me. Let me look at y'all comments. Where's the link to join the Discord? The link is in the bio. Go ahead and try to get in it. While we're on here, MJ, did you send me a DM? I'm gonna send you the link. You need a one-on-one session. Yep, the link is in the bio. It says one-on-one mentorship. For sure. Or if you don't want a full mentorship and you just want like just one hour call, I have that too. It's called the Breakthrough Day Trading Call. The link is in the bio for that. MJ, did you send me? Let me see. Sorry, y'all. I opened TikTok. Y'all know that's a trending audio. Send you the link. Okay, who's on here? Be glad. I'm about to send you the link. Be glad. Can you send me your email because I can go over your P&L and your strategy and see what's going on. But remember, I'm always here for free, so we still have 20 more minutes. What question do you have? All right, MJ, I sent yours. Be glad. Send me your email. Oh, I'm sorry. Simplicity, are you still here before I go back and answer your question? How come you're buying GJ when you're selling? Are you still here before we go back over that chart? Simplicity CJP. What time frame works best? The hour down to the 1 minute. Just depends on where I find my breaker structure. Be glad. Did you send me your email? Do I teach psychology? Yes. Psychology is really the biggest thing that a lot of people need to learn, right? Learning how to mark up the charts is the easy part. Learning yourself, that's the hard part. Getting over yourself and your greed, that's the hard part. If she's eager to learn and you want her to have her personal sessions, just where it's me and her, the link is in the bio. But if not, we do come here from 8 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. We just started today. We're doing our beginner basics, and then we'll move from beginner to intermediate to advanced. So we are doing classes here on TikTok every day, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can have her join the Discord, so if she misses that first hour, she can get the replays. Okay? All right, so we got 10 more minutes on this call. I'm not sure if Dippy Sippy is gone, but I was going to answer his question. Anybody else got any questions? I think Simplicity is gone. And anybody else need the link to the Discord? You're here? Okay, was that you? What question did you have? Or what specifically did you need a one-on-one for? Like, if you don't want to pay, I'm here. What do you need? Got a few more minutes. Give you a link, DM me your email address. But if you want a personal call, then click the link in the bio and just do the day trade and breakthrough call. You're trying to pass a prop firm? Okay, so a lot of the things that people do with passing prop firms, they get a 100K account and think that they have an actual 100K. So the best way with passing a prop firm is you want to use your daily loss limit as your account size. So if your daily loss limit is $1,000, then you're truly only trading on $1,000. So you want to use your lot sizes for that account, for that size, okay? Not 100,000, not 50,000, okay? And then are you having trouble with your entries, your trades? What's going on? Gold, we're waiting for price to get to this 30-minute fair value gap to let us know if we are continuing this buy up here to this 4-hour fair value gap, or if it's going to break our structure and then come back and retest, and then we'll take it down to 50% of our weekly CRT, okay? The one-to-one mentorship, the link is in the bio. I come on live at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're here from 8 to 11. And then sometimes I may pop up during London. Depends on if I'm asleep or not. And then sometimes I may pop up during New York session. Depends on if I'm asleep or not. Y'all, I be knocked out. I'll be in my bed trading from my phone, like wiping my eyes. CRT frame. CRT on a high time frame versus the one on the lower time frame. I say on your currency pairs, stick to your monthly, weekly, and daily CRT, okay? And then on your indices, you can use your 4-hour. But on the currency, stick to the higher time frames because you want bigger zones for more pips. But I use weekly and monthly mainly. I use weekly and monthly. Because if it gives me that monthly CRT, oh yeah. Thanks for the follow and the likes. Could y'all heart it some more for me, please? We got 15 more minutes before we get off of here. Miles, click the link in the bio. I use, yep, I'm in the USA. I use CoinX, and the link for the bio, the link for CoinX is in my bio. If you are in the United States, you're going to have to put other because they use MetaTrader, and, they tried to ban us from MetaTrader. But there's always a way around it. Yeah, Miles, I'm in the U.S. I'm in good old Texas. Here for a little while, not a long time, but a little while. Other, yep. When you sign up, put other when they ask you for your country if you're in the U.S. Okay, and then they also, I promise you, they have the best customer service ever. you can go into their Discord, or you can just go back to the website and into that chat section. On Fridays, if you're trying to get a payout within the same day, definitely do your payout before 12 o'clock. Otherwise, you won't get it until Monday, okay? But other than that, normally you'll have a payout within 2 to 3 hours at the most. If it takes longer than 3 hours, send them a message and they will expedite it. Hey, Chevy. What do I think is the easiest strategy? This CRT range has been the easiest strategy, and it has been the highest success rate for me. I have an 80% success rate. So, and and I say it's easy because it's literally, so if you know anything about ICT's unicorn or turtle soup, right? It's that play, but the range gives you it allows you to be able to see it better, right? So with the turtle soup, you're looking for a run on liquidity, and then you look for price to come back, break structure with your fair value gap, and then you want to look for price to trade back into your fair value gap, and then you'll take it price to the 50%. And that's literally all you're looking at. You don't know that stuff? Okay, Judah, well, join us. We'll walk back through it tomorrow. I walk through it every day, literally every day. No, CoinEx isn't a prop firm. CoinEx is a live account broker. I did sign an affiliate with a prop firm, and I'm testing them out. As soon as I finish passing it and I get my payout, then I will let y'all know about that prop firm. You know, a bit of smart money concepts. So smart money concepts is fair value gaps and run on liquidities. So you should know that. Is it best practice to wait for a higher time frame candle to close before taking trades on a lower time frame? Not really. Not really, right? Because a higher time frame candle like this 4 hour right here, we have an hour and 10 minutes left. Within this higher time frame candle, we're looking on the lower time frame to see what it's going to do. So if price rejects it and then comes all the way underneath and breaks our structure and closes underneath, then you'll miss your entry, right? So price is fractal, right? So whatever is going on within this 4 hour candle is happening on the lower time frame, and you don't want to miss your entry on the lower time frame. Okay? So no, I'm not saying it. I don't think it's best practice to wait. You just want to wait on your steps, you know? So this is why you have to have a strategy, and then you follow your confluences in your strategy. Gold is selling. It may sell, but I'm not touching it until it comes to this gap. You got to have your strategy, and then you have to stick to it regardless what anybody says. So he's saying gold is selling, and I could be antsy and just jump in and sell, and then it could start buying, right? And then that messes me up. So you have to have your strategy, and you have to have your rules, and you have to stick to your rules. I can't vouch for Ames. I'm not sure. US 30, what we're looking for on US 30. So price is currently sitting in 50% of this fair value gap here on US 30. Okay. And it's sitting on this weekly trend line. So price is right here. Okay. I'm waiting for price to get to this fair value gap. Either it's going to break this trend line, break through this fair value gap, just like this, and retest it, and then I'll take it lower into this 4 hour fair value gap right here, or it's going to reject from this area, get back on top of this trend line or gap to let us know what we're doing. And I would suggest that you wait for New York session. Okay. Discipline. Exactly. Because without it, you'd be sitting in a consolidation range, sell by sell, because you really don't know what's going on. So this is why you have to have a strategy and you have to have rules and you have to stick to those rules. And regardless if price hits stop loss or TP, with good risk management, you'll be fine, right? Because most of my trades are 5 to 1, 10 to 1. So if I hit a stop loss, like I had a 13 pip stop loss today, I'm not stressing over it. It was only 13 pips because I know tomorrow I'm going to make 100 pips, 50 pips. It's going to outweigh that 14 pips. Good night, Rico. All right, so MC Don, leave gold B until it comes back to that 30-minute fair value gap. We're currently in buys on GBP, NZD, and GJ, and sells on CAT CHF, and sells on AU. AU is looking funny. I said I was going to leave these dollar pairs alone. But price came back to our gap and it broke structure. So we'll see what it's doing. And see, this is another thing, right? AU stop loss 7 pips. It's cool. Odd NZD is one that I will watch out for. It broke my structure. I'm waiting for this candle to close to give me a valid gap. When this candle closes, then I'll have a fair value gap. And I want to see price move back into it or move back into here or retest it. And then I'll sell it down to 50%. Okay, because this gave me a valid CRT move. Price came outside of the range. Price came back in the range, retested the range. Now I just want to wait for price to give me another pullback to let me in and sell that down. You've been in a buy for 2 weeks on US 30. It's close to your TP. Oh, wow. Yeah, see, that's why I can't swing trade because, So liquidity hangs on higher highs or higher lows. Yep. Yep. Break the structure areas and consolidation and equal lows and equal highs. Okay. And equal is like, this is equal right here. Where you have like the exact same point. That's liquidity. And then you could say higher highs and higher lows, right? Is liquidity, but it's basically also just break a structure, right? So after you get a run of liquidity and a break of structure, you're going to get a pullback. You've been trading for 7 months. How's it going, Miles? A run of liquidity is when price breaks the area, right? So this is a break of structure because this was our last high. And then price came and gave a higher low and then it broke it. And that's a run of liquidity also, right? This is a high and price broke the area. So it grabbed it. So that's why I say we don't use support and resistance because support and resistance is equal highs and equal lows. That's why a lot of support and resistance trader always get stopped out because that's liquidity. They always run those equal highs and equal lows and then they come back and go the way that they want it to go. Break, break a structure and a run of liquidity, yes, can be hand in hand, right? Because liquidity is our highs and our lows. Liquidity is consolidation, and liquidity is equal highs and equal lows. I would not do a 15-minute CRT range at all. A CRT range is the range of the candles, right? It's the high, the low, and 50% of the candles. And this is a trend line, right? So this is a trend line breakout. And on a trend line breakout, you want to wait for price to retest the trend line. It blacked out. So liquidity is at highs and lows, right? And highs and lows are your structure points, okay? And then liquidity is consolidation, where price is moving sideways, okay? And then liquidity is also equal lows. You see how equal these were? Price pushed up, and then this candle came all the way down to run that liquidity and touch this trend line and then pushed back up. That's a run on liquidity. You see that? Equal highs, equal lows. And most of the time consolidations is equal, right? So price is going to run that consolidation, and then you're going to get an impulse move in the right direction. That's why people get the fake outs. Yep, equal wicks, equal wicks. Okay, so that was a run on liquidity. And there's a video on my page also about liquidity that you can watch. Ranging markets, equal highs, equal lows. Okay, so let's see if we can find some consolidation. There's a lot of sideways movement. All right, here. This was nice. We had some consolidation here, right? And on this one, price ran liquidity on the upside and then gave a down move and then pushed up. So it ran liquidity on both sides, right? This is why you always want to wait on these gaps. You wait on these gaps for price to let you know what it's going to do, okay? All right, we had some more sideways movement over here, and price pushed down and ran all of that, and then pushed up, left you a gap. Price came back into the gap. Any more questions? Because that concludes our session. We're on here at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. This candle has closed. So on odd NZD, this is what you'll look for to take this sell. Price is probably going to trade away, probably run this low, but you definitely want to wait for price to come back into here or possibly retest this trend line. If you get in here and not wait for price to retest the trend line, put your stop loss above this wick and then your TP here, okay? And it's almost a 1 to 2. Once price moves down, then you can move your stop loss, okay, and make the risk to reward look better, okay? So that's a trade that you can watch out for on odd NZD, okay? So you notice in the example there were FVG after impulsive move, but it went through the FVG, so it became an inverse. Yep. If it trades through the fair value gap, like we have a gap here, if price decides to trade through this and actually come higher, then it's going to retest it and then go higher, okay? And that's become an inverse fair value gap. Yep. You always wait for a retest on this fair value gap. If price does like one of these moves where it comes close to it and then move away, I'm not touching it. I needed to touch my 50% because a lot of times when it comes close to it, that's called inducement, and price 9 times out of 10 comes back. And then some GBP odd last week, he had a gap somewhere that I was waiting for right here. I wanted to re-enter this sell, right? Because it hit my TP and then I noticed that it was coming lower. And you see how close price came, but it didn't hit it. So I didn't get in. And I missed all these pips, but I was cool with missing all these pips because I had already caught 141 and I was already up 300 pips. So it just would have been more pips, but you got to be content with missing moves and just watch what happens sometimes also. So on GBP odd, I'm just looking for price to trade back into this 4 hour and then take it down into 50% of this monthly gap. Okay. Before and post moves. So fair value gaps are magnets before and post moves. So fair value gaps is a retracement, right? It's a retracement. So right here, this was considered an in-post move, and then this was considered the correction, and then this is continuation. Okay. I'm not sure what APDN is. And last week, this was a CRT move. So last week, our weekly high was here. And price came outside of our zone. It broke our structure, created a fair value gap. Price came back to the fair value gap, and then we took it down to 50%. Gold didn't respect what on the 4 hour time frame? You said gold on the 4 hour trend line is below it. The only trend line I see on the 4 hour is this. That's the only trend line. In order for you to have a valid trend line, you have to have 2 points of rejection. So I don't see. That's the one. Okay, so you said you was thinking it was going to respect it. This gap right here or this gap? The red or the black candle? I'm sorry, my candle is pink. The pink or the black candle. The 50% of the FG marker is the candle in between the fair value gap or 50% of the actual candle. 50% of the gap. So you see that there's a gap here, right? So you would draw it. I use my rectangle candle, my rectangle pattern, and I just have my middle line. I have my border on 0%, okay? And then you go from the previous wick, the previous candle wick or previous candle body if it doesn't have a wick, to the following candle wick or body, and that gives you 50% of your fair value gap. This is a 2 hour fair value gap on London. So you were talking about this, you thought it was going to respect it. Yeah, I was here yesterday and I thought it was going to respect it too, right? Because what it did, it respected it on Friday, right? This was Friday. We got our rejection, and I should have realized when it started to move back up that it was failing to create another low, but it touched it again. It touched it again, and then I went down to the lower time frame. You sold on the first one. Did you get out? Did you get out at good time? I went down to the lower time frame and I was waiting for price to pull back some to let me in, but it didn't give me my confluences. And then I went to sleep, and all of this happened at 1 and 5. And then I woke up. I was like, dang, look at go. You're welcome. Guys, can we get to 10K before I end this, please? Please. We're at 92.95. That just pushes me out to the algorithm so more people can come in here for free. I believe that day trading is a skill that everyone needs to learn, and not everybody has the money to pay for courses, right? So we're here doing this for free every day at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time to 11 Central Standard Time, okay? No revenge trading almost blew the account. Definitely. We've all been there. We've all been there. So it's just a learning lesson, right? Everything in trading is a learning lesson. And you eventually stop when you get tired of yourself. That's psychology. When you get tired of yourself. And it is like, because it's nobody but you in these charts, right? And nobody's in control but you. So eventually you're going to be like, okay, I know what I'm doing wrong. So let me actually stop doing it. How do I know? So fair value gaps are my entries and my exits or equal highs and equal lows. SPX. SPX is the same as NAS, right? So I'm in NAS already. I got in this gap right here. There's another gap right here on the hourly. Wait for price to come underneath this and retest it. And then you can take it down to this 4-hour gap. Okay. If it doesn't come underneath and retest, I'd be cautious at this area as far as it buying up. If price gets on top of that area, then we have a gap up here on the 4-hour that it can come to on SPX, okay? So we're just waiting to see what happens in this area. If price even comes up there, or if price comes underneath here, retest it, take it down to that 4-hour gap. My next entry on gold, I'm waiting on this 30-minute gap. I'm waiting on this 30-minute gap. Either it's going to bounce from this and go up to this 4-hour fair value gap, or it's going to come underneath it, okay, and then break our structure, and then I'll take it down to either this gap or this right here. This black line is 50% range of my weekly CRT. Okay. Did we get it run? And technically, since we didn't run outside of, yes, we did. This was my weekly CRT right here. So we did come outside of the range. So, yep, I'm going to take it down to 50% of my weekly CRT. And that's just your weekly candle. Last week's candle. Okay. And then I just use my same rectangle tool and go from the high to the low and get that 50%. So to technically be a CRT range because price ran last week's highs and it came up here to, what do we have here? I'm like, what is this black line? Okay, so this black line was this liquidity point right here, right? This last high. Okay. So now we're just waiting to see if it's going to give us a pullback, right? Impulse, correction, continuation, or is price going to come and break this structure and then sell down? Which broker am I using? I use CoinX. The link is in the bio. Or are you talking about the broker I'm marking my chart up on? Awanda. Gold doesn't respect technical. Listen, that's why gold is one of my least favorite. If it doesn't do what I wanted to do, I'm not gonna touch it. Like I wanted it to sell from this 4-hour fair value gap. It didn't do it. It just shot up. So I'm just like, I will leave it alone. I got other pairs. I got other pairs. So if it don't do what I wanted to do, I just leave it. Don't force a trade. I gave y'all all NZD But it's after 11, guys, so we're about to get up off of here. Let's see. Let me show y'all all NZD real quick. So all the NZD still pushing down. We just want to wait for price to come back into this gap and stop loss above this hourly wick, and then TP at 50% of that range. Okay. Yeah, I use fair value gaps way more than order blocks. Yeah, what's his name? Bruce. I think it's Trade with Bruce on Instagram. He trades nothing but that 15-minute order block on Nas, and he kills it with that, right? So everybody, you got to see the chart how you see the chart, right? So I like fair value gaps more. Okay, nice. I couldn't do 15 minute CRT unless it's like a big candle on Nas or something like that. I definitely need a higher time frame. All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for getting me to 11K. Thank y'all for all the questions and being really interactive. We'll be back here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time to do another hour of our beginner basics course, and then 9 to 11 to do some more daily analysis and catch some more trades, okay? All right, so I appreciate y'all. Have a good evening.